Good morning, everyone. Everyone hear me okay? Sounds good? Okay, great. Good morning, my name is Andrew French. I'm the Director of Sales Operations at Ex Libris, and I'm joined by Steve Bowers, who is the Director of the Dominant Consortium in Michigan. I had the pleasure of joining Steve this past week to record some Alma testimonials from some schools, part of this program, smaller schools, community colleges, and small academic universities. So we'll actually have some of those recorded testimonies coming out in a few weeks, so check out Ex Libris page, you'll see some more of their stories, and I'll reference them a little bit here in the presentation. So who here is maybe what they consider a smaller library? Small library, so maybe 20 staff, 30 staff, 40 staff maybe in the library? Members want to vary. Six, there we go. 10, I love it. Perfect. So I want to define what I'm talking about when I mean every size library. I'm talking about when the library staff themselves are within a certain range. I'm thinking around 20, 30. I have a slide with some metrics coming up in a little bit, so you can see the sizing there. Whether it be technical services, IT, administration, however you size that yourself, however you make the library run, that's what we're working with here. Not the very large libraries with big systems. These are the ones that do everything, from beginning to end with a smaller staff, and they're doing successfully. That's the main goal, and how they're doing that with Alma today. That's what we want to show. So who here is already in Alma school? They're already on Alma today. Almost half of them. Who here has never seen an Alma demo before and they're a little bit curious? All right, okay, perfect, good mix here. So what I want to do today for this session is I'm going to introduce Alma and lay the foundation so we're all on the same page, and I want to pass it off to Steve. He works with libraries like this regularly, schools of this size, and he knows the features they use that are really helpful for running the shop day to day. Schools that are sometimes very independent, sometimes rely on the Alma community, consortial community, different areas here, what they do. I want to describe all of those. So that's what we'll do first. I'll run through Alma. So Alma is the result of ProQuest, which is a combination now of Ex Libris and ProQuest. It's a result of 30 years of experience working with library systems. Who here knows Voyager or Aleph or SFX? All right, these are all Ex Libris systems that we've invented the past 30 years. Aleph was first. We had our big 30th year birthday party, I think just last year or the year before. So it has functionality in it of those systems in one system in the cloud. That's kind of the short and sweet of it, with a lot of extra features in there. And the sweet of it is kind of the next 30 minutes we'll talk about what's exactly in there. So today's environment in your library, if you don't have a system like Alma, it might look like what you're seeing on the left here. I'll read that, the note can be kind of small. Reporting tools, right up top there. Reporting tools that you might use either at the end of the year or built-in reporting tools like in Aleph or Voyager, wherever system might come from, that track, circ stats for the end of year, really common tools for collection management, things like this. The ILS itself, or system you might have to run the library, acquisition, circulation, everything. Your link resolver. Link resolver functionality is also built into Alma. It's part of the system. It's built into the workflows, the activation of e-resources and e-books and things like this. The knowledge-based services, we have to contact our vendors to upload and get new records, new market information, that type of data. That is now part of Alma as well. It's kind of sphere of where I can easily get MARC records, get vendor information, get linking data. That's also part of the Alma environment that you can access from within the system. You don't have to go anywhere else or any other URLs. It's built in for the most part. Who here has a standalone ERM to manage e-resources? It's not that common. A lot of libraries do not have this. It might be Excel, it might be a Word document, someone's keeping track of something in a folder somewhere. That's still super, super popular. We have e-resource management built into Alma as well. So knowing when packages are going to expire, knowing when ebooks are going to expire, linking data, licensing, what the license terms for managing e-resources, that's also in there. As an optional piece, Alma also has digital functionality. So if you have an institutional repository like Content DM, DSpace, vPress, these types of solutions, we can also optionally store digital resources in the cloud in Alma for you. So that is the brief of what Alma is, and it is a cloud solution. So you do access it using a web-enabled device, whether it be tablet, phone, mostly going to be in your laptop or computer for cataloging. I can't imagine cataloging on a phone. That sounds arduous. This is what Alma entails. So Alma today means you're working with one system for print, electronic and digital material, and you're using a discovery tool to interact with the system. All right, so Alma does not have its own front-end OPAC, like a lot of systems do, where you have the front end and back end. It's a little bit different. You can choose Primo, Sun, open source tools. You can use whichever one of those you like, but you must have that to run the system. There is no other OPAC. So that's the basics. So we're all here in the beginning. To talk about the vision of Ex Libris and why we're talking about this conversation today with these types of schools, what we really care about, it fits in with our vision of where we see the company going in the future. If you've seen other presentations of Ex Libris recently, this is kind of the secret engine behind all of them. This is our vision, the 3 pillars where we see the company going in the future. On the left here, this is what we're really talking about today, the library management piece, where we see Alma and Rosetta. This is the whole conversation for today. Acquisitions, reporting, resource sharing, circulation, it's all that functionality built into Alma. Rosetta is our digital asset preservation system. We're not going to talk about that today at all, but this is our main library management sphere here. The other 2 are areas where we see the library now moving into. So if you have interest in teaching and learning initiatives or research and discovery, and by teaching and learning, I mean bringing the library's workflows into the university, into the college to say, I'm going to collaborate with my professors and students for course reserves or reading lists, that type of thing. We have products now engaged around that sphere, and also around, and also we have research and discovery for research data lifecycle. So working with graduate students and professors for tracking the most important research in the institution, tracking publications, the mission critical data that's the most important to our university and colleges and schools, how we can support that and get that data out there, promote that information outside of the school. So that's our vision. And when you hear about our vision, especially in Alma demos, we start off usually talking about schools like this. This is a very familiar slide that you'll see in our marketing, that we talk about Alma being a very large community. We have over 1,100 institutions around the world on Alma today, so a very large number after being live for just 6 years. We're really excited about that. 42 consortia worldwide, I'll mention that as well. But the next thing you see in these demos is 47 ARL members, and you think, wow, those are really big schools. ARL members are the top tier academic research libraries that are promoting their research, they're competing for that top space, and that's wonderful. And these are some of our ARL members. We love our ARL members. They are, we help to support the academic research workflow, and we love them. But we also love many other libraries as well. We're very happy to have them. They've shaped the product. They've helped us in our workflow today because you can share data within Alma. The work that we do can be shared amongst other schools. So reports that I'm doing, import profiles, go through all these terms we have present before for the course of the presentation. The work they're doing can be shared within Alma, so we can use them as well. So we are very, very grateful to this community, and we do love them. But we also love all types of academic libraries. This is a list of some of our North American consortia. This is an area where we really do excel, is consortial workflows. If you're part of a consortia, who here is part of a larger consortia of some form, whether it be a lending group or whether it be sharing work for acquisitions, things like this. These are groups that help us to understand how we want to structure our system. Working with Olive, working with Voyager over the past 3 years, we know there are many different types. There's no one flavor consortia that meets all different needs. So we kind of customize Alma to meet those different flavors. It's one of our big accomplishments here. We have 30 today. This is a list of just some of them. And here's Dalnet right over here with 17 members constituting public and private universities, colleges, and community colleges, 438 staff. And there are a ton here. Our very first one was the Orbis Cascade Alliance. That's 38 members, 3 ARLs, public and private universities and colleges. We're really happy to have had them shape the product with us in the way that they have today. So we can go through some of those here. The Trails Consortium, UNLV, CLIC, the state of Georgia, we're working with some more states as well. So we're really happy to be working with those. But we do believe through all that marketing, all those ARLs, all that competition we put forward for being a leading solution, that actually most of our customers, in the customer base, are considered extra small or small. That makes up a large portion of our customer base. Maybe looks like over 75%. That's massive. So it means our attention is working on academic workflows and serving all the individual schools, whether or not you're part of a consortia. We are working with all these different schools and embracing them. So personally, I might not even call 30 small. It depends on the kind of size in here. These metrics come from industry metrics, but I think that it varies from place to place. I used to work in a very small library in my previous job at the Phillips Library at the Peabody Essex Museum. We had 7 staff. It was just 7 of us running the whole entire workshop. That might be very familiar to some of you in the room to understand how that works. So who here would say they fit in that category? Maybe it's extra small? All right, good. We're all in the same place here, on the same shop. So we have over 100 community and technical schools and even more small academic schools. Separating those numbers out and looking at those just in North America. That's a lot. It's a lot of peer institutions that are using the system that we can learn from and understand what they're doing today. And I'll talk about those schools in a moment too. So let's talk about the traditional Alma benefits that we see for all institutions, whether or not you are an ARL, if you're a technical school, if you're a community college, small academic school, museum, government institution. These are things that libraries really care about if you're working in the academic space because of the workflows that really drive resources to our users. I mentioned the first one already, the unified management, print, electronic, digital materials, all in one system. That means we can access everything from that one place. I can manage ebooks side by side from print books. I can catalog both. My workflows can be designed to match my workflows in the library today, or I could use Alma to create that single stream you hear about of workflows as well. Maybe you want to cross-stream. If you're from a small library, you're already doing this, really. We're working with print materials one day, electronic the next, and that's just how this Alma system is built. So that might even be more familiar to you from a small library, having those workflows working together. I keep mentioning workflow. The system itself is built around workflows. It is essentially a very large wizard on the system that you can customize to say, all right, I'm going to start by importing my resources, either from MARC records or from the community zone. I'll talk about that in a moment. Bringing in resources, bringing in MARC records, cataloging them, slapping the barcode onto our books if they're shelf ready or not, activating e-resources, all the way to publishing to discovery. This workflow is managed by the system. Alma takes those steps one by one. You never lose track of the steps. There's a little wizard that says, hey, Andrew, you've now finished this step. Now start on step A, B, C, D, E. Pick it up from there and get that resource out to the patrons as quickly as possible. I have some nice stats on that to show how it really does improve that workflow because nothing's getting lost in the shuffle. We're taking all the activities in the library and putting it into a nice workflow that you've customized during implementation. Analytics, again, that reporting piece that is now built into Alma. And I think in a much more easy way, especially for libraries that are small that don't want to spend, the last, few hours every Friday going through everything we've done already and having to manually import that information into whatever system we use today, whether it be Excel or whatnot. In my library, at the Phillips Library, we had kind of a rule where we did not talk to the cataloger in December because they had a lot of work to do in reporting of all the things they had to do throughout the year, get our stats ready, send out the iPads reports and things like this. So reporting in Alma happens consistently behind the scenes. When I'm working on an e-resource, when I'm cataloging the record, when I'm working on something, it's kind of checking the boxes for me and adding information behind the scenes. Circulation stats, counter reports are now also part of Alma, which we'll talk about that in more detail. These are the next pieces here. Collaborations, I mentioned briefly, we have a lot of different flexible customization options if you do resource sharing or different consortial workflows today, things you can do to share access and share configurations. Steve has much more to mention on that. I'll say that for the end. The community zone. I'll also say this first slide in the future. This is that new place where I can access shared records that are free to the community, either because someone else on Alma need the records for free and they contributed them to the community space, where I can just download them, link them, use them, and again, they're completely free. Xlibris does not own them. They're community run, there's customer run, and also vendor records too. So if you spend a lot of time as a technical librarian having to go to all these different URLs, all these places, all these FTP folders, downloading records individually, we have one central space where you can do that really easily. Search for the name, find the record, import it, you got it, it's part of your system. I'll show that in more detail in a moment as well. The last three here, that's role-based management. I think that's key for libraries like ours. In large libraries, it's very granular, right? There's just one person, there's one student or one worker who does this one job in the library. It's very specialized, and for good reason, permissions are locked down. Versus maybe in my old library, we would have a couple roles where, I'm wearing a lot of hats. I'm helping out on the circ desk during lunch breaks. I'm helping to receive things. I'm working out on all these different areas, you would have a lot more roles built into your user. That is also part of Alma as well. For those that do have an IT staff or IT that work maybe closely with you or periodically, we do have a lot of open platform integration. So I'll mention that in a slide coming up as well. That slide's coming up. About how we can integrate with different campus systems really easily, ERP systems, student information systems, so we can integrate there and have the work we're doing in Alma not have to be, again, one more day put aside to, okay, let's now take all these records and push them somewhere else. That can be a live sync that happens consistently. Right. I like to say in Alma, it's the more the merrier, because the more customers we have, the more we're able to share our data. What do I mean by that? I'll mention in a moment how we can go to see these reports that can be made by other libraries and how we can benefit from them. That doesn't mean I can see your really private data. It doesn't mean I can see your technical information, the output of your reports. It means that I can see how you built the report. I'm taking your template and I'm running it on my library. How is that useful? Well, it means that I might not need to spend hours updating to a new iPads report, updating to a new report standard that I need for the end of the year. I can find that report in the community zone, the structure of it, because someone else at a different institution already made that report. And I can download the template and it will just run my data through it and give me the output. There's a lot of things in Alma that are like this, that save us a lot of time. I like to think of Alma as kind of being like its own consortium unto itself. We can share so many things together. And it's opt-in and opt-out. You can choose to share things if you want to, but by default, it is opt-out. You're not sharing everything. That's not how the system works. We call it big data analytics because we are able to track this information in a very central way, doing a lot of work together, collaborating and sharing this information. And here are some of the schools that have recently moved to Alma and things they've had to say about that. And I'll go into more detail about this too. These are 2 community colleges and a small academic. First, as a quote, we have from Candace Afley, library director at Hawkeye Community College, talking about the benefits of having a nice system like Alma that has all the same functionality as a very large AR realm. You're going to have the nice user interface. You're going to have the really easy to use workflows, things like this, but as a smaller school, so the workflows are going to be customized to your day-to-day operations. That's been a really positive piece here. From Siena Heights University and Oberlin Community College, those are 2 DALNet institutions. I did do Alma testimonials with them. We have some snapshots over here, which are coming out soon. These are the features. Oh, I'm sorry, I should give some names here. This is Peggy Lofka, the Serial Service Coordinator from Siena Heights. We have Melissa Sisson, the Public Services Reference Librarian, also from Siena Heights. And in the middle here is Jeff Sackmeja, who's the Coordinator of Library e-Resources at Oberlin Community Colleges. In talking to them and interviewing them in these kind of case studies, I was able to learn these are the features that they love the most in Alma that are helping them in their community colleges and their small schools day to day to make a really big difference. So Alma Analytics, that reporting tool, it's such a huge time saver. Instead of having to take time aside to enter in data, it's just happening automatically. The community zone, import profiles, a very easy to use discovery interface that came up many times throughout the course. So even though that's not Alma itself, they're talking about Primo in this instance, they all had Primo that was working with Alma. They were all really pleased with the integration, how it worked and spoke with Alma to deliver those services to the end user. They have great things to say about that. Specifically, I was surprised they shouted out, and I'm surprised, but happy to hear that database and e-book management was one of the biggest features they loved in the system. It was very easy to use. Everything was being discovered very easily in the discovery interface as well. So the workflow in Alma and the discovery in the system. I wasn't asking those questions, but it came up in conversation, so I was really happy to hear that. It was such a positive spin. The interface of Alma has been redesigned as for now 2 years and has been out live now. Originally, I thought it kind of looked a little bit, Web 1.0, maybe like a Craigslist-y kind of interface, old school HTML template. It's a big system, we're adding new features all the time. We had a chance to really look at what's being used the most, what's the most popular features, how can we pull those workflows and make them tighter, fewer clicks, that kind of thing. So we have a really brand new interface that makes it even easier to use the system with so many features. And that persistent menu bar up top allows you to easily navigate to any part of the system was one of the big things they mentioned. Course reserves, binding and receiving, cataloging, the support with Ex Libris, and the community were all things they mentioned as being helpful as well. So before I pass it over to Steve for his piece, I do want to go through those items they mentioned as being really helpful. So again, have some groundwork on what that looks like in the system. And then Steve's going to show some really specific examples from schools, what they're doing today and how that's working for them. So analytics. So what I mean by analytics in our system is we're tracking now data in our libraries across a very wide spectrum. It's not just about the physical item stats or circulation stats or collection or financials. It's a lot of data. It is physical inventory for sure, but it's also e-resource inventory. How many times has this e-resource been activated if it's part of, how many times has it been clicked on? Either tracked by our own link resolver or by counter stats as well. E-journals, cost per use. We now have acquisitions data, side-by-side usage data. We can calculate that very easily for the end of the year. That report is built in. So that report can be done pretty automatically in the system. Fulfillment, of course, that would be circulation information. How is it being tracked? How are we circulating to our, different users, community users, internal users, faculty, and knowing where items are. I think in Alma, we talk about these very large concepts, and they're really wonderful and beautiful features, but I've seen some great fixes that were not there in previous iOSs. Just things like item statuses, where you didn't really know where items were before. When they were in transit different places. Oh, the item's now lost, I'll never find it again. Let's just buy a new one. I found that in moving to Alma, a lot of schools have surfaced their collections and found things, didn't really know where they were in certain areas. We've been able to kind of take those code locations and discover materials and surface them more easily. So I think Alma Analytics has been really successful there too. Link resolver usage, interlibrary loan data. We can also track that. If you're using Iliad, if you're using Rapid ILL, if you're using just Alma to Alma communication, because Alma itself is actually an ILL broker. If you do not have an ILL system like Iliad that you're using, or you're using Rapid or these types of systems, if you have an Alma school nearby, you can actually use internal communication dialogue from within Alma itself to say, to do lookups, send requests, see the status, where it is. It is in itself its own ILO tool. That only right now is for Alma to Alma, or get integrated with other brokers. But all those stats can also be tracked, so we know what our effectiveness is. We know what our communication is with our other schools and our communities as well. Finally, that funds data acquisition information. Of course, we're going to have really great insights into all that information. One of the big questions we get, the very first thing is, can I keep my fund codes? It's a very common question I've had in demos over the past 6 years. Yes, you keep all your fund codes, all those hierarchies you have today. Nothing has to change until moving to Alma. That was really a key feature for a lot of people. We also are considering adding many more data sources. Now that ProQuest, well, Xlibris is part of ProQuest now, ProQuest in itself has just a huge amount of data that we can use. The Ulrichs data we could be using, books in print, How Do You Trust, other resources for college libraries. We're still investigating how to add more data. So Alma is by no means completely finished. It's not the end of the system. It's not done and we're just selling it out there. It's growing all the time. We're adding new features in there, new data sources. A really good example might be, and this is not there yet, but I know it's under discussion, books in print. Books in print has cost information in there, in those records, right? In the cloud, we can use that and look it up. What if we had that data to use to match to our current collection? Perhaps we have records that don't have cost in them. Those records just didn't seem to come with that data. We could use a report to blend that together, see what the cost is today of that book, track it with usage information, also in Alma Analytics, and say, boom, here's a really great cost per use. This is the effectiveness of my library tied directly to my stats, my collection, my usage. These are things that we're looking at into Alma today. One of my favorite new features, it's called Alma AI. This is now the result of Alma being live for 6 years, being able to track how people are using the system and based upon the workflows that we do today. What do I mean by that? I mean that we have a system where, looking at the profiles you set up in your institution during the implementation, Alma might suggest to you, hey, it looks like you have, based upon how you want your library to act, you have 7 requests in a course or for some other purpose for this one title. Do you want to add this title to a new purchase list? And it'll have pop-ups that make those suggestions for you as part of daily routine. It's almost like a mini consultant in the system based upon how you want to grow. So you're not really, if you haven't been running the reports yourself, you missed that report for acquisitions, for circulation, for collection, for really just system setup, it will deliver those to you so you can take actions on them, which kind of make some changes as you need to. Same goes for resource sharing, same goes for patron ILL demand, and things like this. We also have one coming up here for sushi. I think I have it later on to show as well. Benchmark analytics. It's a different feature. This is a report where you can opt in to compare yourself to other schools of your size, of your makeup, the type of school that you are, and see how your library is comparing today anonymously. So you can see your circulation stats, collection strengths, all different areas that you can jump in. So you would see, okay, I'm going to be anonymous institution A, and here are 10 other institutions like me around the country, around the world even, that have different, how they operate today. What have they done that have made them so successful? How are they executing all these different needs, all these workflows in the library? So you can kind of see the evidence based in the system. Again, it's opt-in, you don't have to do this feature, but if you want to, it's something we can do now because Alma is in the cloud and we have so many customers of these sizes to work with. Those are called benchmark reports. For the community, that community zone, we keep hearing community in Alma all the time, whether it be community zone, whether it be community the user group, we have a lot of features now that we can use. Who here is a technical services librarian, cataloging or serials or, nice, about half the room. So there are a lot of features in Alma that help to improve some of the work that we do that can be a little monotonous. So we can work on things that we'd like to be working on, helping to work on our main workflows here, doing more purchasing, high volume requests, leaving on time on Friday when you want to. So for example, the number one thing we'd like to see a lot is the knowledge base. Knowledge base itself does have, as I mentioned before, vendor records already in there, populated, e-journals, books. I can often go to one space and see all my things I need from Gale, Wiley, other major vendors, find what I'm looking for. With one button, import all those records into my system, and they're there. Because we have a community linking, where I have my school linking to the community zone, linking to my vendor, whenever the vendor updates their records, let's say every week, every month, it delivers those updates, updates my records for me automatically every time they make an upload. So whenever they change the linking information, change the authority information, change the bib information, I get those updates instantly. I don't have to do anything. I've seen some catalogers. It's a really great benefit. Same goes for authorities. In the same type of way that we're linking to vendors, we're also linking your library to the Library of Congress authority headings. We're updating that for you every single week. That's also optional. You don't have to do that if you don't want to, but if you do, it means we're updating your names and subjects for you automatically in your entire collection. So if you're doing a lot of work today, sending out records to different vendors, doing it yourself, doing the upload, doing the matching, takes a lot of time, that can be automatic. That can be automatic update for you. Okay. I mentioned the import profiles just briefly. These are the profiles that allow us to import data into our system, whether it be importing MARC records, acquisitions data, digital records. These are the profiles that govern how the records come through. Are we going to match on our current collection? Are we going to update them? We're going to normalize those records. Normalization is kind of our MARC edit equivalency terminology. These are profiles that allow us to import huge amounts of data into our system, so when it arrives, we're good to go. We're all set. Let me give you an example of an import profile here. Import profiles could also be used to import sushi data, counter data. Who's doing this? Who's working with counter today to track usage information from vendors? So vendors provide us our usage stats every month, saying your users have accessed ProQuest, EBSCO, Wiley, all this amount of times. All right. This is an automatic process in Alma as well. So if you don't have those insights today for usage data to see what your e-collection is doing, you spend a lot of money there, you don't always know what's happening, we're going to have far greater insights in these profiles. You do need to have a profile for each vendor. However, with Alma the community zone, if you don't have the profile, the Alma AI and Alma system will say, okay, we're uploading that counter report from your vendor. Alma's going to do some number crunching and say, hey, it looks like you don't have an import profile. What are we going to do? Well, it will look to the other Alma vendor community and see if there's a public profile that matches that vendor for the ProQuest or EBSCO or Wiley vendor. If someone else has it and they're sharing it, you can download the whole profile itself and change your system. Actually, you can really configure a profile in your system so your files will pass through it automatically. It's a huge time save. You don't have to call IT or systems or technical services to spend half a day building a profile or something like that. To get it just right the way you want it to look. It can be shared. So you go ahead and just upload the profile. Do you want to set up a sushi account for this provider? Yes, and it's just added. So it's kind of mind-blowing, right? We're not just adding individual reports, we're not just adding individual pieces of data, we're adding whole mini lightweight systems within our system to help us work more efficiently. And they come from shared libraries in Alma. So as a technical community college or a small school, it's a massive time saver for us. I won't spend too much time on discovery. We have other sessions here at ALA talking about discovery, Primo, Summon, updates working with third-party open source systems. But we have had so many pieces of positive feedback from our schools talking about how easy it is for them to customize the system now, to make changes. We have WYSIWYG operators now in Primo that allow you to make changes. I can drag and drop and move things around, change colors. You don't have to be a technical wizard to have to customize Discovery anymore. I can just make those changes. I can add, a new scope for my favorite collections or a thesis collection or anything I want really easily now in Primo. And the end result, I think, looks really great too. You can customize how you want it to look. We have new tags for peer-reviewed materials, open source materials. I love this discovery system, but I don't want to spend too much time on that. I want to see it come up here pretty soon. But we do have analytics there as well for discovery. So I want to see, we want to be able to still track patron interaction. If they're not coming in, we're not tracking it that way. We still want to know what they're searching for and how we can best help deliver services to them through analytics, and we track that in Primo as well. Primo has tools that allow us to see. We have Primo customers that are users that are coming in to access the library during these times. They're looking at these collections. It's anonymous, we don't know who they are, but we do know that in general we have groups of our users trying to access these collections that are very popular and things like this. So much better insights into our data. I do want to get Steve up here fast, so I'm going to move a little bit faster through these slides. But who here is aware of linked data, BibFrame, these initiatives that are happening in the library, the big shift from Mark? Who here has a plan to execute that at their institution? All right, it's a big change. It's a big animal here. The move to BibFrame and making our data linked data ready. With Alma, with the help of our customers we have today and the updates we have with our own linked data user group at the Alma user groups, we have built our own linked data ready system. So if you move to Alma, there is a tool within Alma that will convert and flip your records to BibFrame. Done. Nothing you have to do. You simply move to Alma, we migrate your Mark records over there, and here's an example of a record you're cataloging in the system. Typical catalog interface with a lot of fun new tools. Click anywhere, double import Mark, it's great. One click, and you're converting your Mark record to BibFrame. It's already available and live today. We have tools that allow you to export your records in bulk to other BibFrame ready tools if you want to. So moving to Alma means, yes, there's nothing more you have to do for that, as it is today. We are improving this workflow and working directly with Library of Congress as they develop BibFrame to make sure that we are completely in sync with their development as well. So it's not like we're rogues in this kind of ignorant system. We are going to deliver the final result will be the BibFrame project that LC is committing to. I'm going to skip over some more salesy slides here and talk lastly about support. I mentioned this briefly before. If you're moving to a system like Alma, you want to know the support and the community are there, not just the big ARLs, not just the schools like yourselves, but also with us. You have a question, you want to know something, you've already gone to our online knowledge center to watch videos, or you've already gone to see the FAQ or the documentation, you just want to contact a person and have an answer to your question. So we have 2 different tiers of support, technically 3, but 3 is like the big, there's a problem with the system, put on our red hats here, make the changes here. We're talking about 2 tiers where we have focus on the customer. Tier 1 is typical questions. Here's a link to how to do this workflow. Here's a link to how to operate this, make integration happen. Tier 2 is more, there's a big problem. Let's now come together, have a huddle, look at multiple use cases across the spectrum to decide what's happening here. And this is all powered by Salesforce CRM. So it is a ticket-based system to submit requests into Alma. We've had positive responses for support, and we also have a very, very powerful user group community for Ex Libris as well. Not just a listserv, but actually in-person customers we can talk to for support as well. So we just passed 1,000 attendees at our big conference we had a couple months ago for the Ex Libris user group, just in North America. The international group's even bigger, but that's just for Ex Libris users. So there's so many courses, tracks, focus groups we've been working together to customize our data. And get answers to our questions. So thank you for your time. Let me kind of mention all those pieces there. I want to lay the groundwork because Steve's going to jump right now into those features that really help his libraries and how they are today. So without any further ado, I'll pass it to Steve.
Thanks, Andrew. And feel free to stop me along the way, because I'm just invited here today to share some of the features that we use and things that you may find useful. So, if I'm not hitting on what you're wondering, go ahead and ask. So this slide here shows kind of the main reasons that our consortium chose to move from a traditional integrated library system to a platform that Alma provides. So our traditional system is really good at doing print management, our serials, all of our books and other physical media. But for our electronic art ebooks, we could just load MARC records. There was nothing really in the system to manage those. There was no licensing management, etc. So that piece was missing in our traditional system, even though we really liked our old system. We had it for 20 years, so of course we got to know it. We have a great need on the other side that we're not going to talk about today, but that discovery interface for our end user, that was a big driving piece for us. So most of our libraries in our consortium did not have a discovery interface, a few of them did. So now we're all on the Primo system, and we'll talk a few slides briefly about that. But that piece really empowers the patron. So everything we're talking about on the back end in Alma is, of course, just to support the end user on the other side. And then the analytical reporting, again, a lot of that tied to the electronic resources. So we had disparate systems. We might have vended different pieces from different vendors with the link resolvers and other reports that we wanted to run, or we simply might not have had data actually to report on that we would have liked to capture in some way. So the analytical piece was an important part of our decision. And then that built-in link resolver, our A to Z lists for our journal subscriptions and other resources. So all of that is part of Alma. So we'll break it down a bit, take a look here. So that first big piece from the administrative perspective, that's where I am in the office, was that design analytics piece. And not just reports, but making dashboards. I don't know, we talked about a lot earlier, but making pieces that, if the cataloger logs in, they can see what did I do the past month? And just have that on their dashboard so they don't even have to run a report themselves. And all these analytical reports are right at the fingertips of each user that you want to give access to. So, maybe you do have a cataloger that wants to run their own reports, but maybe you have a cataloger that just needs a report delivered to them. So the staff within the library, and since, I presume most of us, if not all of us here, are from academic institutions, we all realize that the library has someone above the library that's not the library. So your institution is driving some of your decisions and your purchasing dollars. So we've been able to make custom reports that go to a provost each month, show them different metrics that the library is delivering on to help show how they support the rest of the work of the institution. So that piece was an important part for us because every library in our consortium has a parent institution above them. And a lot of times the library doesn't want to stay off the radar. They want to be part of providing the data that the institution is using to justify everything that they're doing. So I just did some quick screenshots. These aren't the greatest, but there's all kinds of charts and graphs that not only can you build a report, or as Andrew said, copy from the community of reports that's out there, you can also design the display of the report. So, obviously if we're sending it external to the library, we're going to do pretty charts and graphs with data that's particular to the individual we're sending it to. And the nice part is we can set all of this up in the system and then kind of set it and forget it, as they say on the infomercials, and it'll just go out to our prescribed emails that it's going out to. And you can easily change all that within Alma and the analytical reports. Obviously, acquisitions management is a huge part of any back-end system, whether you're doing print or electronic. So this is nice. It, again, moves the electronic resources into the management of your system within the library. So we can order materials within the system. We can track the licensing and management through the electronic resources module and manage them. And we can also do all of our print subscriptions. Do any of you do like EDI setup where you're pulling in data directly from your vendors? No, a few. So the system does that wonderfully. I think a lot of us in this room understand, our smaller libraries don't always do the technical setup like that. But it is available. Some of you may already just get reports from your vendor, and the system can easily import those for you and kind of pre-start your ordering process. Start, with a stubby bib, if you will, or an order record, and then you can import the full records from your vendors if you get those. So a lot of that, a lot of the capability of the system is great, but you don't have to use all of it. You can do a lot of your traditional simple workflows. They don't always want to tell you that, but you don't have to change all of your workflows to use the system. So this screenshot just show you there's a huge menu of all the pieces you can do. A lot of our institutions, they want to use their external system from their bursar or their business office, but you can also connect this system to that if your institution wants to do that. So you can send data back and forth from your campus business office system for orders or for expenditures or for encumbrances that you might put in the system. And if you're a smaller library, you may choose to use less of the acquisition system again. It's kind of up to you, but a lot of the system is driven through an initiation within the acquisition. So we're looking at serials. Are you tracking overdues? Are you wanting the system to send automatic notices to your vendors if you see a lapse in a subscription and stuff like that? So again, all within the same system. So in Alma, circulation is called fulfillment. We all feel so pleased with that, right? It's very fulfilling. So that's just a term I'm just telling you so you understand what we're talking about. So we do obviously all of our circulation management for our print materials or our physical items. We also have the reserves module, which is very nice. Everything's built off of patron records, so as long as you're loading in records for your faculty, you can connect their faculty record in the system to courses in the system. You can track those on an ongoing basis, so if you have the same professors with the same courses each year, those will stay in the system. And then a nice piece within the system, you can connect directly to the other records within your system. So you can connect to materials that are in your collections, or you can add records for professors' own materials that they may drop off at the library for reserves. So of course, I think for most academics, reserves is an integral part no matter what size your library is. We also, through fulfillment in our consortium, and whether you're in a consortium or you're just with a borrowing group within your state or whatever region, there is the fulfillment network as well. So we use that piece. So even though we're a consortium, a lot of our stuff is separate on the back end because our libraries, we also have hospitals and museums, and they need to keep everything in complete different systems. But we are able to connect with that fulfillment network to each of them. So that allows us to, if we want, for each library, they can choose on the front end, do they want to offer a consortium-wide search and be able to request materials from each of our libraries direct? Do they want to be able to allow walk-in circulation? So if the patients take their card from one of our libraries into another, they can just pull it up in the system through that fulfillment network and be able to share resources that way. So it's really just on the back end, it helps us manage a lot better than our traditional system. So you can even, within the system, anonymously tell them, well, this patient's blocked at their parent institution, don't let them check out their yours either. So obviously we're promoting circulating materials, but we're also keeping things in check through that fulfillment network. And then the system's easy to access and change anything you need for records. If somebody says, well, that's not how my name is spelled, or if you need to look and show them everything that's checked out, you can easily go to that screen and show them that material as well. So basic cert on top of everything else. So I wanted to mention at this point the security system. So Andrew said it's very granular, which I would reiterate. And we need both at a small library, I think. You need to be able to let the circulation student check out things, but you might not want them to do overrides, right? And so in a lot of small libraries, whether we have one staff or we have 15 or however many, we have a lot of students as well. So the small college I used to work at, we had 4 full-time staff, and then we had over a dozen student workers. the system allows us to go down to very specific pieces in all the parts of Alma and say who has access to what. That granularity also switches over to our reports, so you can assign specific users or specific user levels either way to specific reports. So you may want, who owes us big money to only go to a certain supervisor and not the students. But you may want to allow the students to be able to pull up overdues or other things. So it's a lot of different options within the system. And this is showing just a user's record on the screen where I can just click and add a role. So there's different roles for the different areas that we can add. And almost any area has multiple levels within it. So circulation, you might be just a general circ technical person, or you might have a circulation supervisor, or you might have a grand wizard of circulation. So all of that are the different levels within the system. So our patient records, I do want to mention, you can also do batch processing. I don't know about you, but in our legacy system that we had for 20 years, we had thousands of records that should have been gone years ago. Okay, so a really nice feature that we all appreciate in our new system with Alma. There's a couple of features. You can set an expire date when you load records or as you create them, but you can also batch change a group of users to have an expire date if you need to batch change them for some reason. And then a second piece is a purge date. So you can go through manually or set it to regularly purge the records from the system that meet the criteria that you set. So a lot of those pieces that really only our systems librarian could do in the past, a lot of our individual libraries can do on their own now, which is nice, I think, both for our consortium office and for those libraries that want to take control of that. So related to that is external systems integration. I wanted to mention there's a lot of different external systems, especially on a campus, that you may want the library system to connect to. So one of those is your student information system, where you keep all of the records for each of your students, but you can pull in the data directly from that system on campus to Alma to create, for instance, a patron record for each student that's registered each semester. And you can do that nightly, or you can do it weekly or monthly, or each semester. Is up to you. But it gets those records automatically coming in from your registrar if you set that up, which I definitely recommend. And Exlibris walks you through that. They highly recommend it as well to do that piece. You can also add an on-the-fly record if for some reason the new professor comes in and is upset that they're not in the system. But having that nightly feed, I think, is just great too, especially being in a semester where you still have people registering. They'll automatically get dumped into the library system. So that's one of the types of external systems. On the slide here, it shows connection. So for many of us that use OCLC, you can do two-sided. We'll talk about that a little later, but you can set up connections to connection both ways. So you can have records that are created in Alma sent over automatically to OCLC to update your holdings for those, or you can create, if you have a cataloger that prefers to work in connection, you can have those records saved and then automatically sent into Alma to show up in your system. So that those connections are really convenient from one system to the other. Another one I wanted to mention is here on the slide it says SAML, but you might use SAML, you may use LDAP or some other means for doing authentication on your campus for your single sign-on. But you can configure both Alma and Primo, the public interface, to use that campus authentication system so that you truly are part of the one authentication for the campus. So the same username and password they use for their email, etc., is all part of Alma. And there's other external systems you can connect to, the business office, etc. we mentioned. One other piece is kind of neat. I think a lot of our users, especially students, they come in and they're used to logging in everything with their social media accounts. So obviously you want to get your basic campus login in the system, but there is social authentication now on the public side for the end user, so that they can log in with their Facebook and Google if they want to. If Google, correct? Yeah, I think we're mainly using the Facebook, but so both of those pieces are very handy. It's just stuff they expect to see, on the end user side. So Ex Libris is trying to be on top of delivering standard technology, which I think is essential. That everything's based on technology that the general internet's using, not just libraries. So obviously they have all our library standards, but the infrastructure of the system needs to be that cloud-based platform and other social media elements, et cetera, that the rest of the industry is using outside of libraries, because that's where our users are. So we already mentioned a bit about cataloging, but I did want to mention again, your tech services people can almost choose their preferences if they want to catalog in OCLC still, or if they want to do it in Alma. If you do everything in Alma, you can just have those nightly updates get sent out to update your holdings. Some of our libraries kind of may prefer to do both. You can catalog in OCLC, but you can schedule your deletions in Alma to be sent to update your holdings to OCLC. So that you're keeping everything in sync with real time, at least within 24 hours, hopefully. There are a lot of other pieces in the metadata editor that our libraries like, and small libraries in particular. I don't know if any of you are doing anything with Dublin Core. You can do Dublin Core as well as your MARC standard within Alma. But another piece that we really like, the top of the screen there under MD Editor, you can see it says templates. So, especially in a small staff library, your head of cataloging, or maybe there is only one person, but they can make templates for themselves or for others to use that says, pull up this to make a new record if you're doing something from scratch for original cataloging, and fill in these basic fields at least, if nothing else. So those templates can help, especially as you're doing more electronic media or things that some catalogers may not be accustomed to yet. So that's another piece, is the templates. And then Z3950, I mentioned here, just a lot of small libraries probably appreciate this. There are multiple connections already in Alma that you can just search via the Z3950, but you can also request new ones to be put in. So if you'd like to grab records on the fly from Library of Congress or other national museums or other institutions out there, you can do that, at no cost. You can search those other libraries and pull in records, and then immediately save them into Alma, and they're your records at that point. So just another thing that some of our really small libraries appreciate. Another great feature for cataloging within Alma is the ability to do a lot of bid batch processes. So you can not only load things in batch easily with the templates that Andrew mentioned for the MARC profile, import profiles, but you can say, we always hated this tag that we put in, a local 590 or something, a note that's irrelevant at this point or outdated. You can make a batch in Alma of the records and then run a batch process and remove all of those fields from the system. Or even more magic, I think, you can add a field to a batch of records. So if you have a donation that you forgot to put a public note to make the donor happy, again, for that 590 or whatever field, you can run a set in, Andrew mentioned normalization processes. Those are within the system, and you can make a rule, and they're fairly simple, I think. You can also, it's another great thing in Alma, another community feature, you can search in the MARC editor and say, look at this normalization rule, does exactly what we wanted, and just copy that rule into your system and then run it. So it is, it's a new system, you have to get used to it, but once you learn things, you're like, I love this feature. So for years, our traditional iOS, we could not do batch processing at all. We had to export records and use MARCEdit. I'm sure those of you who do cataloging are familiar with MARCEdit, and then bump them back into the system. So MARCEdit is still a great tool to use with Alma, but you can do a lot of those things within Alma now. So a big piece to us, so I'm mentioning it. Also on this slide, you can see it says sets. That's for different, whether you're talking patient records, bid records. item records. You can make sets within the system and then do those batch processes on those sets. And there's two types of sets. You can make an itemized set, of these 20 items you want to work with. But my favorite type of set in the system is to do a logical set. So you perform a search and it finds everything that meets that criteria. And then if you run that same search and the same correction in the future, it's going to find everything that currently fits that criteria. So it's like an ongoing logical set to fix all of the things that are having a problem in your system. All right. So Andrew already mentioned authority records. I won't take much time on this, but we used to work with outside vendors. We spent years and a lot of time and money fixing authority records. So we have opted, and I think maybe a lot of small libraries would like this option, to just use the authority control that's provided by Ex Libris. That doesn't mean you can't go in and change something that you want to, and it doesn't mess up your local authority file, but it does, at least the Library of Commerce authorities and others, I think they do mesh, and yeah. So, if you have other types of records in there, they can do those as well. So that is one thing we really appreciate. We can, fix something that we notice on the fly, but we trust that the rest of, the big authority work is being handled. And since you mentioned linked data, I won't spend much time on it either, but on the bottom of the screen here, you see the tab for the linked data. And that's another huge piece for us. We know where libraries are headed by changing our data to be accessible with the rest of the semantic web in the world. Again, employing those non-library standards so that the rest of the world can see us and our data. So we're looking forward to that and the BibFrame changes, and trusting that big platform of Alma to handle BibFrame and linked data for us. So that's something we're not worried about. We're just trusting that that will be part of what we're doing in the future. So we mentioned Sushi and Counter already. Counter is the standard we have for counting usage statistics for electronic resources. And by we, I don't mean me, I mean the world. That's the standard that's out there with NISO and other groups. And Sushi is related, but that is the automated means for pulling those counter statistics from your vendors into the system. So Andrew already touched some on that, but basically, if you ask your vendor for a Sushi account, you can put that in the system, and then those statistics will flow in from those vendors on whatever basis it's set up to do that. So that does take setup, but presumably if you have somebody working with your serials electronic resources, they already know those things that exist in other systems, so it's nice to get them in the one platform from Alma. I put links on there in case anybody goes back to look at the standards, but you either know them or you don't care about them probably. So, okay, so activating community zone collections. This is really cool. I mean, if I do say so. You can go in, whoever has authority in your system per their system access, and you can search the community zone, which is thousands and millions of records, but thousands of collections for your electronic resources. And you basically say, oh, I subscribe to this collection from this vendor, and you can activate it in the system. And assuming you really do have access, you'll be able to get to it. So this side activates it. In Alma, you can activate down to the article, down to the database and journal title level. And then on the Primo side, you can activate down to the article level. So on the public side, they can search all the way down to each article that you have access to. So the two pieces work together to deliver those electronic resources to your end user, but within Alma, you can actually activate those resources. So no more loading, thousands of records for the 300,000 ebooks you just bought. But more importantly, a lot of us never loaded the full, every million of journals that we subscribe to into the system. So this activates them in the system and lets you manage them. You can even be granular within that. If you subscribe to a database that has 10,000 journals, but you don't want to show a whole subset for some reason, you can turn off individual titles or parts of those collections. So a lot of management within Alma that you may have had to do in a separate system or may not have ever had access to before. I'm excited for our consortium. In the community zone, you can also add your own collections. And then you can share those if they're approved by Alma with the rest of the worldwide users of Alma. So like we just submitted the TED Talks. We have 1,500 MARC records that we created for all the TED Talks out there. That's been submitted to the community zone. So once it's approved, it will be right. Then anybody else subscribing to Alma can just turn that collection on and have it in their collection. So handy to work with the community zone. Again, an important piece to us for the platform is that it contains a lot of pieces that we bought from other vendors in the past. So we have our A to Z lists for all of our subscriptions, print and electronic, but we also have the built-in link resolver for Alma. So that is what enables the public side. Anything you search for going down to the article level, the link resolver says, oh, you have it in these 5 databases. If it's convenient for your institution, you can say, if it's in this first database, always send them straight to the article, or you can take them to the splash page that says pick which of these 6 databases you want to go get it from. So that again is up to you and your needs in your library. But the A to Z and the link resolver are part of the system. So I did want, I have to do one slide about the public interface. To us, that's a big reason to have the system is delivering everything to the end user. So the backend helps do all that, but the end users are our patrons and our students and faculty and staff are using that public interface. So it is a discovery interface. It's customizable, as Andrew said. You can do a single search bar like Google if you want. Some of our libraries do. Others choose to do like this slideshow and have some drop-down options on that front screen. You can also do the advanced search for those of us that work in the library and want to do browse searching. They have that as well, which is newer for discovery interfaces. They didn't used to have browsing in the past. I also did the screenshot to show the fervor. So you can see that the top record, maybe it's not too small, it says 2 versions. So it's taken all of our different titles that are the same and put them in one record. And there's multiple options for fervor and how you show that on your public interface, so you may or may not want to go with the fervor options. But again, it's incorporating the current standards for libraries' cataloging practices. And then it's got all the other patron empowerment features that you expect for next generation catalog, plus the additional discovery features. So your patrons can log in, they can see what they have checked out, they can renew materials, they can pay fines if you set that up. Excuse me. I really like that since it's print and electronic, your user can say, oh, I have these resources that are electronic articles and save them in their account so that they can go back and use those later. So that's a big piece it couldn't do with a print-only system. And one last piece I want to mention for us, we use a repository system called DSpace. Although Alma does have a repository piece that you can purchase, well, for digital asset management. So if you wanted to put your digital collections in there. If you do use a separate system though, you can harvest the data via the OAI PMH standards again, and then that data can be pulled. So even though we have this data living in a different system, we can pull in our collections into our discovery interface so that we can drive traffic towards our digital collections as well. So tying our different systems together. If you've heard of DPLA, the Digital Public Library of America, our state is just now coming on as a region for DPLA, and we'll be using the same technology to harvest the metadata from our system to go out to DPLA so that our stuff will be discoverable on that national platform and be discoverable worldwide. And then for those of you who have connections with Google Scholar, we realize, that not everyone starts with the library, especially the faculty sometimes, and the students. But Alma publishes via the link resolver and the connections for Google Scholar in Alma. Ex Libris sets up that connection for your institution with Google Scholar as a vendor so that all of your electronic resource metadata and your print metadata is sent to Google Scholar so that if people search Google and it bumps into Google Scholar, it will say, as this slide shows, get it at the DIA, that's the Detroit Institute of Arts. It will say get it at your library. You can put whatever text you want there as your link. And then this links them directly back to your library and your authentication and your link resolver to get those materials. So even if they never step foot in the library, never use your public front end, they can get those materials here. And I think I'm 5 minutes over, so according to this. So this is the end we're ending with. They do have the knowledge center, but every page within Alma has a help button, and you can get help directly related to that page, so it'll send you out. And then the support system that Andrew already talked about for the help desk. All right, I'll let you go. Sorry, or wait if you guys have questions.
Yeah, I think we're happy around. Does anyone have any questions about anything we've mentioned so far about features in Alma or workflows? Anything that you want to see maybe how that would work in them? Okay. Thanks for staying with us.
Yeah, your next meeting, I know, sorry.
Yeah, thanks everyone.